Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. So based on the 5 things that you talk about, or 3 to 5, the specific areas that you let your players know, these are the things I need you to improve on, be great at. This will help us win in our time. I would imagine individual skill development is huge, and then also leads to that confidence. The time spent, like you talked about, how does individual skill work into your daily practice?
Our best players are in there probably at least 5 days a week, and more times 6. Like Day, the young man that's going to Davion Thomas, the guy that's going to Cincinnati. During the season, it's 6 days a week. He works out twice a day. Excuse me. He gets in the morning with my assistant coach. They have a 45 minute workout, and then we have practice every afternoon. I have changed my practice schedules because of the amount of work that our guys are doing in the mornings by themselves. And so we don't incorporate a ton of individual stuff into practice anymore.
That makes sense.
Because our guys are all getting it in the morning. And so most of what we do in the evenings is team-oriented, or the afternoons is team-oriented stuff, because our guys are loving being in the gym with my coaching staff in the mornings, getting in their workouts, spending their extra time, getting that time spent. And then when they get to practice, it's easy to say, look, are you working on that in the morning? No. Then why are you doing that right now? Or you're doing this, it's going in more. We see a lot of production right now from you in this area. Why? And then they look at you and they go, because that's what I'm working on every day. Oh, okay. Let's correlate this. Let's make sure we understand that what you work on is what you're going to be good at. So let's play with the things that we think are going to be your biggest attributes. And I think the thing that, like most freshmen in our league, I think the biggest thing they don't understand how much more difficult it's going to be in our league. And so they think they're going to come in and do everything they did in high school and be good at it. They're going to make every shot, and they're going to dribble by everybody. And I got to remind them, look, you're not going to play against any freshmen. You're not going to play against any sophomores, and you're going to play against any juniors. So all those kids that were on the floor in high school that you got to blow past, they're not playing in this game anymore.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to be as good as you are. And so they have to learn that you're talented enough to play at this level, but that doesn't mean you're good enough to be a great player at this level. You've got to earn that right. That comes through your work habits and you figuring out what your strengths are at this level. There's guys that come in here that blew by everybody in high school, and then you get to this level and you really can't get by anybody, or it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out how to get this done. And so it's just a learning process, and it's a growth process. And, some of that is failure, and you got to help them through that part. You got to help them understand, look, I'm just not quite as talented at this. And I've got to sacrifice it for our team because we've got 3 other guys that are really good at it. So I don't need to be that person for our team.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think it's a part of that transition from high school to college that isn't talked about very much, is the fact that you might have to reinvent yourself. I went from the Colony High School where coach not between me and you, this is, I think some people that, but between us, coach, it was easy. I mean, playing for Coach Thomas, I had 2 future NBA players on my starting 5. We were all D1 players. It was the easiest time, and offensively things just came. It was just they were a step slow, or my IQ, I could see things, and the skill. Well, I got to Baylor and I realized real quick, all of these dudes are bigger, faster, stronger, and a lot of them are more skilled. So I can't just do the same things that I've done before. And in fact, if you would have known me as a high school player to what I finished as in college, it was almost 2 extremes different, where I became Mr. Hustle twice. I don't say that at the time I didn't value that very much. I actually thought it was the award you give to the guy where there's no awards left. What are we going to give Matt? Give him Mr. Hustle. But now I'm proud of it. But I became the defensive stopper dude that in high school, I never took charges. I didn't dive on the floor. I was an offensive player, but it comes down to, okay, how badly do you really want to remain where you are? And how badly do you really want to get on the floor? Because you have to sometimes redefine Where is there a need? Okay, he's faster than me and a better ball handler. He's a better shooter than me. Well, maybe there's a need for a little toughness and some defense and some rebounding and a charge taker or a spirit guy. I'll fill that need. Yeah, it seemed to work out for me, but I don't feel like that's talked a lot or about it with high school players.
I don't disagree with that. I think the thing is they just a high school player, um, they just haven't learned how to tap themselves out. They don't know how much more they have in them.
Mm,
And so when you get to our level or the college level or Division 1 or whatever it is, you're starting to pull them in a direction that they're not even sure what they have left in that point. We look at our guys. I look at a number of them, quite honestly, in those meetings early in the year and say, you don't even have a clue how good you can be. You just don't understand it yet. You haven't been pushed to a level that is going to show you what more work and more time and what more skill will give you, and you just said it, how different of a player you'll be at the end of your 4-year college career than what you were when you walked in as a high school senior. And so I just think, well, that's why we spend so much time talking about growth,
yeah.
becoming the best version of yourself. Are you pushing yourself as hard as you can? How competitive can you be on a daily basis?
Yeah, Stan Bonowitz at Concordia called it gassing out. Like you got to gas out. You got to reach that limit. And I'll have parents here sometimes ask, why don't we have more players from Grapevine Faith that want to play in college? It's not that we don't have guys that could. Well, it goes back to your very first point. Do they love the level that loves them? Most likely, no. They can afford to. They have the academics to go anywhere they want. And so they choose that, which is fine. But maybe another reason why not every high school player plays in college is to that point you just made, is that they don't gas out. Either they know that they're not reaching their limit, or they're unwilling to go there because it's hard work. Like it's hard to that term 100%, giving your very, very best. There's sacrifice involved with that. Like it is difficult to do, and not every person is willing to do that. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, like they're less than because of that. But why is the game of musical chairs so extreme? Because it's really hard to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you find your love for the game
Yeah.
because,
Yep.
because if at this point you think you like it, if you go to college and you want to get your college paid for, and that's really all that matters to you, is you get a scholarship and get your college paid for, and you walk in my office and say, Coach, I want to be a mid-major Division 1 player. Those two things they contradict each other.
Hmm.
That's not the same thing. You're really, because you're not willing to work really hard to be mid-major. You just want your college paid for. And so when you're dealing with truth, when you're dealing with the absolute truth, your path to being successful in college as an athlete is tapping yourself out. It's being the best version of yourself so that you can compete at a high level daily. And that consistency is what's going to make you good.
Yeah.
And we try to let our guys know, even in practices, look, you had a great day today. And I know you feel really, really good about that day, but that day doesn't make you high major or mid major or low major. That day just shows you the potential that you have to be. If you can do that consistently, then you're going to change the level of where you're at. And it's who you are daily. It's what you do daily that that sets you apart, or can set you apart from everybody else.
And I don't mean to, like, I think that with that, not that parent, but if a parent asks that question or just recognizes the fact that, all these are good high school players, why are they not? And I think when a player, they're midway through their senior season, realizes themselves that they don't love the game that much. They like it. They like being a high school player. They want to maximize that experience. But then you know what? When they think about or look into the future a year from now, and they're not waking up early to train every day, they don't have that pressure. They don't have to put on a uniform, and they're okay with that. Man, I really appreciate that. Like I appreciate that self-awareness over I don't mean poser like in a negative way, but the guy that doesn't realize how far they are from gassing out or maxing out, but still thinks that they should be going and playing somewhere. Like, I think that I appreciate those players that, coach, listen, I'm going to give you my very, very best, but this is it. I can't,
Yeah.
I'm excited to go on to something else, man. Tip my hat to you. You figured it out, because some guys get like, I'm sure you've seen it. The idea of being a college basketball player sounds so nice and good, but the reality of what it takes, it's just different.
Yeah. 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 It is. I mean, you said the word, it's the sacrifice that it takes. And it's a sacrifice. It's sacrifice if you have a girlfriend. It's sacrifice with academics and making sure you're staying on top of your academics. It's sacrifice with the extra workouts. It's, sacrifice with the travel and how you take care of your body, how you eat and sleep and rest and hydrate yourself. And so all those things become really, really important, and they've got to take precedent in your life. And it's a lifestyle. It's not just when you're in high school, it's a 2.5 hour commitment after school every day to be a high school player. And some guys go on and get some extra training that want to be college and that kind of stuff. But really, your high school career's 2.5 hours after school every day. Show up, and if your high school coach is really good, he has you watch some film and do some different things. But when you get to college, it's extra workouts, it's training room, it's how you eat, it's all these things magnified times 10. And that starts separating the love. It starts separating who enjoys it, and who really loves it and is committed to it. And you can't get mad at young men that decide that it's not that important to them. You can't. It's like you said, you tip your hat, you say thank you for doing what you did, and you've learned a lot about yourself, and that's great, because that's what life's about at this point in your stage and your age. And they've got to go figure out what makes them happy. I mean, I told my boys, they both played for me, but I told both of them early in life, I don't care if you play basketball or not. That's not the goal here. The goal is for you to be happy and to chase your dreams. And that's sort of one of the things we want. We want our guys to graduate. We want them to grow. We want them to be in a championship culture, and we want them to chase their dreams. And I want my sons to chase their dreams, regardless if that includes basketball or not.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.